Interior Designs. We're going to be doing a simple DIY today, kitchen backsplash. We'll be doing a white subway tile with a dark charcoal grout. It's going to be a fun one today. Well, I'll walk you through all the materials that you're going to need for this DIY. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so let's talk about all the materials that we're going to need for this awesome project. First, you'll obviously need your tile. You're going to need to make sure that you have enough tile. Actually, before you get started, you're going to need to make sure that you do lots and lots of measurements. Make sure that you know the square footage of your space. If you need to Google how to find square footage, great idea. Okay. But you'll need to make sure that you have enough materials to cover it. All tile boxes, they'll let you know like how much square footage that particular box of tiles will cover. So for instance, our entire square footage for our kitchen is about 24 square feet. So we got boxes, the boxes covered about 12. So we got 2 boxes of 100 and then we got about 35 extra just to make sure we had enough. If we run out, we'll run back over and get some more. But you'll need to make sure you have tile. We chose a simple white subway tile. This is a 3x6 and they carry this at most hardware stores. The next thing you're going to need to make sure you have is your tile adhesive. Now, if you go there, they'll point you in the direction any sales associate at a hardware store. We chose this particular brand because of the quality and the endurance for it. Next thing you're going to need to make sure is you have a grout. You can choose whichever color you'd like. We went with, as I said before, a dark charcoal grout, and that's going to give us our kind of modern look that we're looking for. Next thing that you'll need to make sure you have is ceramic tile caulk. Okay, this caulk is going to be important to fill in some of those spots that you don't necessarily want to be, for instance, in my case, charcoal, but I want them to still be white and kind of seal everything up really nicely. You'll use this almost as like final touches, finishing touches. Okay. In addition to that, you're going to need to obviously have a tile saw. Okay. Some people go with a more heavy duty industrial wet saw, and of course that's going to be the best. But for this project, it's pretty simple, and especially since we're using ceramic tile, we won't need as heavy duty of a saw. Okay? If you're doing things like with porcelain tile or other types of tiles, mosaics, you're probably going to need a more heavy duty saw. But this saw will do just fine for this particular job. In addition to that, you're going to need to make sure that you have a sponge so that after you finish caulking and laying your grout, that you'll be able to wipe it off and have a nice, clean, polished look. You will also need your tile adhesive trowel. Okay, make sure they have lots of different sizes and things, but this is a really good one. You will also need to make sure that you have your spacers. Okay, your spacers, they kind of look like little T's. These are going to make sure that your tiles are nicely symmetrical and everything is in order. A couple of other things that you need to make sure you have. You may not always think about them right offhand, but outlet extenders. These are going to save your lives so that when you have all of your tile laid, you're not going to want to have your outlets kind of recessed inside. You're going to make sure those outlets are pushed out and so that they're even and flush with the rest of your tile. So outlet extenders, as well as we're changing out our generic outlet covers for a nice little decorative cover. So that's up to you if you'd like to do something like that. A few other things that you're going to make sure you need. You're going to need to make sure you have painters or masking tape just to paint off your counter. We have like a dark black granite counter, so we don't want that to get damaged. So we want to make sure we tape that off. And last but not least, you're going to need to make sure you have a leveler. Now, ideally, you're going to want a larger leveler, a longer one that's going to give you a more consistent measurement. But you just need to make sure that your countertops are pretty even and level. If they're not level, then you're going to need to kind of do some tweaking as you're laying your tile because you don't want your tile to kind of, be uneven and crooked. So just be careful with that. Our house, we built it a few years ago, so it's a new construction, and we had lots of inspectors come in and they made sure that everything was pretty level, so we should be good on that end. All right, well, I think we've talked about everything. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what we have here, okay, you're going to use your tile adhesive, okay, and you will take that tile adhesive, you're going to apply it using the flat side first. Okay, once it's nice and evenly applied, you will then take your scored side, okay, and go ahead and score it. Now, as you can notice, okay, based on the video, you'll see how we've taped up our countertop, You're gonna really need to make sure that happens because this job can get a bit messy. Okay, so make sure that you have that nice and taped up, okay, so that you don't have any issues. You'll also notice that we have all of our outlet covers off. Okay, once the job is finished, we're going to unscrew these, extend our outlets so that it'll be a nice finish, okay? And all you're gonna do is place your tile down, okay? You'll give it a nice gentle but firm press, okay? And then you're gonna make sure you put a spacer between them so that you have nice, even, consistent lines. And that's just what you'll do throughout the entire thing. See you soon. All right, I'm gonna show you how to use a saw here. Now again, preferably a lot of times people will use a wet saw, and again, for jobs using like porcelain tile, mosaic tiles, things like that, you're gonna definitely need a more heavy duty wet saw generally. However, for just simple ceramic tiles, you can get away with a simple saw like this. You can get this at any of your hardware stores. So what you'll do is you'll take your piece of tile, you will line it up wherever your mark is. There are measurements here, and like for instance, if you wanted to just cut in half, you would go ahead and line that up the halfway point, okay? Then you would take your lever, okay, you'd press it down. When you press it down, there is a kind of like a circular blade that engages there, and so all you'll do is you'll press it down and press. You're gonna have to put a little force behind it, okay? Now that pressing, what that does is it creates a score line. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's like a little line there, okay? So it basically scores it, it creates kind of a scratch. And so after that, all you'll do is take that line, make sure that that line is right on this center ridge. There's like a little lifting area here. So you're gonna make sure that that line is right there on that ridge. You will then take it, okay, put this portion, okay, right on top. That line is directly in the center. And all you're gonna do is press this down. When you press it, it's going to apply pressure. It'll crack just like you heard, okay? And then you'll be able to see your two pieces, okay? So that's how you just use a general saw, okay? Pretty simple. Make sure that if you do go ahead and purchase your own saw, that you get a few extra, because you may break a few as you're learning it, but it's okay. These tiles, like I said, were about 15 cents a tile, so not too bad, but just go ahead and get practicing. You can do it. All right, so we got everything finished yesterday. We got all the tile in. Now we are taking a moment, going ahead and pulling out all of our spacers. It's gonna be a really exciting day. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these spacers off, and then I'll be right back. All right, and so now we're back. I'm gonna show you guys how to get your grout all set up, and then we'll take a moment and show you how we're gonna apply ours. Now, first thing you're gonna need to make sure you do is have on some rubber gloves. Ideally, you should have some eye protection as well, but I'm not gonna worry about all that right now. So first, make sure that you read the directions on your box. Okay, different brands have different measurements. They're all, pretty similar, but make sure that you're really reading those directions. Again, we decided to go with the dark charcoal grout, and we've read through the directions and the measurements. What you're gonna do is go ahead and apply your ingredients. Make sure that whatever you're mixing your supplies in, your materials in, is something that you don't mind getting messed up, because again, this grout is going to cement, and you don't want to have a situation where your nice dishes or things are messed up. Ideally, you'd probably want to put this in a bucket, but we're okay with these. These are just really inexpensive bowls. So you're gonna mix this, get it all mixed up. You'll let it sit for about 5 minutes. Once it's sat for 5 minutes, then you'll come back and re-stir it, and then go ahead and start applying it. All right, we'll be back in a little bit to show you how we show you our results. All right, so we're back. We've properly mixed our grout. Let it sit for 5 minutes, re-stirred. Made sure that everything was taped up. Outlets, walls, windows, everything. Making sure that we have everything taped up, because we don't want any messes. Now, typically, you would use what's called a float, or like spacket or spatula, different tools like that to apply your grout. Now, because we have white subway tile, obviously we're gonna have cleanup. but we kind of experimented and said, let's see if we could maybe apply this grout in a way that won't be as messy. Not sure if I like this technique yet, but we're gonna try it. So what we did was we put our grout in a Ziploc bag, and we're doing it kind of like icing style, okay? And so what we have here is we have our grout, and then we're able to apply the grout pretty directly, okay, to our tile to hopefully minimize some of the mess. Again, not sure if I like this method yet, but we're just trying something new. This is what DIY is all about. So we're gonna go ahead and experiment with this, and we'll let you know how well it was, how successful it was, or if it was maybe not the best route. Okay, so we'll be back soon and let you know. All right, so we've been applying the grout and it's really working well. Not sure which method I prefer, but this way is pretty precise. Okay, so all we're doing is just squeezing, okay, the grout in the lines. And again, you know, the standard method is standard, tried and true, but this way is appearing to be a pretty decent method as well. And then afterwards, I let it sit for a few seconds, okay? And then just go ahead and remove it, okay? This may help with a faster cleanup process. A lot of times when people tile, they really complain about how much, especially with like white subway tile, how messy the cleanup is. With this process, the cleanup shouldn't be as tedious. So I'm hoping for the best. All we're doing is just wiping it down, and then once it dries a little bit more, we're just taking kind of like dry paper towels and just polishing them. We will, once everything really dries, go ahead and take a wet sponge and then clean our tiles completely. But this method has been a really nice cleanup. And I'm pretty happy with the results so far. So we'll come back to you in just a little bit. We're finished and I love it. This DIY project is awesome. So happy with the way that it looks. My white subway tile with dark charcoal gray grout. My husband and I, we really rocked this project out. Let us know what you think in the comments below.